Well, the primary and the upcoming convention fight for the Secretary of State is going to be something else. Already is. Something else.
So let me ask you, my friend, from a Democratic perspective, how would you sort of assess Indiana's political landscape right now?
You know, it's very tumultuous. It's very. It's really hard to explain because when you have 122 votes in the first week in Huntington, for example, and there's contested races on the Republican side for the state Senate, for a county commissioner, a couple of county council seats, and there's only 122 votes, and about 48% of them are Democrats, Democratic ballots. It tells me that Republicans are mad and they're not voting right now.
Interesting, because down here in Marion County, we had about 700 votes on the first day of early vote. I get an update basically every morning.
Yeah,
and it's actually more than 2024, which was a presidential year last year, which I thought was interesting.
That it is. Up here again, it's running really slow. 122 votes for a whole county and nearly half of them are Democrat ballots where there are no contested races. It says something.
What does it tell you?
It tells me that Republicans are not excited about their candidates, whether it's contested or not. They're mad. They're feeling the pain just like you and I are. They're paying the $4 gas. They're paying the utility bills that are, in some cases, more than your rent or mortgage. They're paying the $8 a pound for hamburger now. They're the ones that they're having trouble finding child care, and if they can find it, it's more than their mortgage too. They're dealing with hospitals closing down services, people having to travel farther, not being able to get the procedures or the care they need because the insurance company is stepping in and saying no to something their doctor recommends. So they are feeling all of that too, just like Democrats. And I have to believe they're a little frustrated with everything that's going on. I would be if I voted for that and I was lied to like that.
No, it's funny you bring that up. Talk about the price of hamburger. There's a place nearby where my wife and I would get pizza on occasion, and I like the steak and cheese pizza. Steak and cheese well done.
Yeah.
Well, they had to take steak off the menu because the price of beef had gone through the roof.
You can, and I think my wife, who's running for state rep, she did a story on this or a post on it not too long ago. The price of a roll, the roll you can't even see at, you can't even see the hamburger. It's just the roll of hamburger, 1 pound now costs more at the Walmart than the minimum wage is right now.
So which is more expensive, a gallon of gas or a pound of beef?
Right now it's a pound of beef. I paid, I think today in Huntington, I paid $3.99 for a gallon of gas, and that's with the sales tax removed from it. You go to Walmart and grab a pound of 80/20 ground beef, it's $7.42 a pound.
We're talking to Gary Snyder. Gary is the host of the Snyder Report up in the Huntington area. We're talking to him about sort of the current state of Indiana politics and the upcoming primary and convention delegates from a Democratic perspective. To provide some balance, we spoke with Mario Massillamany a little bit earlier today. Gary, let me ask you this. Obviously, you've got contested races. Let's talk about the Democrats. Let's start with now. Obviously, the top statewide races on the ballot are Secretary of State, Auditor, and Treasurer. And it's at every sort of 20-year window where there is no gubernatorial race, no U.S. Senate race, no gubernatorial race. So the top of the ticket on the Republican side is Diego Morales and Dave Shelton. On the Democratic side, it's Bo Bai and Blythe Potter. How do you assess, like I said, you're a Democrat and proud of it. How do you assess the top of the Democratic ticket right now, at least Blythe Potter versus Bo Bai?
I think with the Secretary of State's race right now, for the most part, the delegate in a lot of places, the delegates have already been chosen. They're unopposed. I think that story's already been written, and Bo will win. He'll win with 75 to 80% of the delegates. The problem is that Blythe can do math too, and she's pretty pissed. Her people are pissed because I guess she feels it's her right to have this, and they are just going scorched earth right now, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, because obviously you take social media for what it's worth, but sometimes social media can be sort of that canary in the coal mine, so to speak. And
Correct.
like I said, looking at the Blythe Potter storyline versus the Bo Bai storyline, the Blythe Potter people seem much more angry and much more upset, to put it mildly, than the Bo Bai people.
Well, let's consider just today they've accused Bo Bai of being a war criminal. They've accused Senator Evan Bai of all kinds of fallacious things, and it's unfortunate. They know they're not going to win, and they're at a place now where it's scorched earth. When you have a social media post that accuses Bo Bai of being a war criminal, and you have the candidate herself on there telling commenters, "Great job," it's very unfortunate. And Bo has run a very clean, a very positive campaign. Blythe, at this point, and I've talked to people, with her right now, it's about electability. Let's take Bo out. Let's just pretend Bo was not even in the equation. You have Blythe Potter, who is number one, stands with the American flag upside down in her uniform. Now some of us know what that means. Most of the electorate doesn't, and they're going to see that. And for the Democrats to win the Secretary of State's race, they have to get significantly more votes than Destiny got 4 years ago. That does not get you there. When you come online, like Blythe has done, and says she is a member of the Democrat Socialists of America, Hoosiers are not going to vote for that, other than the small percentage that think that's pretty cool. When you sit there, and I'm going to cuss here, so get your beeper ready. When you're online giving away pins, lapel pins, that's, Hoosiers are not going to vote for that. And you can keep going down the line with this lady, and it's unfortunate that she's gone this route. But it's a little concerning that she's gotten as far as she has.
Our guest on the program today is our good friend Gary Snyder, host of the Snyder Report, that you can find online. Also find his podcast as well. Gary and I have known each other for quite a while, from the old days at WBAT, up in the Muncie Huntington area.
You hosted the debate for us, remember?
Exactly. So we're getting caught up on sort of the primary situation, delegates, whole nine yards. It's interesting, you mentioned up in your neck of the woods is that there are very few to almost no contested Democrat races, but Democrats are basically almost like 47% of the electorate. What does that tell you?
That tells me Democrats are excited to go vote. And Republicans, they're still fighting amongst themselves. We don't have, we have a contested race for Senate District 17 on the Republican side, but between the guy that was caucused in and a local realtor. Just from my point of view, they're racing to see which one can be farther up Trump's ass than the other one. And we have some that touch around here. The Travis Holdman race looks very interesting. I don't see Travis getting beat. Matter of fact, when I look at these races across the state on the Republican side where Trump has come in and Jim Banks has put his money and Rakita and the governor, I'm not so sure that any of those challengers win.
No, it's funny you bring that up because speaking of Trump and MAGA, I want to take you like 6,700 miles east to Hungary, where they just had the election, and Viktor Orban was basically turned into goulash, for lack of a better term, because the one guy, Bierger, I believe I can't pronounce his last name, actually cleaned his clock. And you had Trump endorse Orban, you had J.D. Vance go over and kind of pat on the shoulder like he's our guy, et cetera, et cetera. You had Vladimir Putin basically doing what Putin does, and with all that, it wasn't even close.
No, and these wannabe dictators, strongmen, they are falling to the wayside. My guess is you're going to see some substantial gains by Democrats here in the state. You're going to pick up the House. Probably a pretty good chance that they pick up the Senate. Just a total repudiation of what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, and here in Indiana, Jim Banks, and you can go down the line with the congressmen and congresswomen, just to complete. Now they may not lose, but I think America will speak pretty strongly this November.
And it's funny you bring that up too, because if you look at and something the Democrats haven't done it in a really, really, really long time, is they're running somebody, particularly on the Senate side of things. They're running somebody in every single last Senate district, with the exception of maybe three or four. And what I tell people what that does is they figure people will come out and vote in a contest. Contests will always say if you want to make voting easier, have more contested races, because people like a contest, and then that will bring people out. That'll bring people actually out to vote. If you think about it, say somebody in Posey County or Wayne County, that where no Democrats ever run before. You got a Democrat on the ballot, that encourages Democrats to come out. And what that does is if you'll vote for a Democrat for state senator, you're probably going to vote for a Democrat for Secretary of State. And that drives up those vote totals to a point. Now, you still got a bit ways to go. But if I could totally geek out here and have a Star Wars reference, we found the plans for the Death Star.
Yeah, I think the analogy I use, it's a school play. When you have a school play, you just don't have the best kids that are actors in the play. You have the kids in the corner picking their nose, running the lights and drawing the curtains, so everyone's involved.
We call them fifth sphere in the theater business.
Everyone's parents are paying that $5 to come and watch.
Exactly. So let's look at the Secretary of State's race. Like I said, we looked at Bo Bai, we looked at Blythe Potter, and the thing that gets me is, and to a certain degree, it's also sort of parallels the Destiny Wells, Andre Carson down here in the 7th Congressional District. Is they're supposed to take a lot of pot shots, at the incumbent, but haven't really offered any sort of alternative vision. Just said, hey, they're the establishment, you can't vote for them. And it's not so much the candidates, because Destiny and I, we get along fine, as well to be expected right now, and Blythe Potter and I too. It's not so much the candidates; they're supporters that are just sort of rabid, almost kind of like the old Tasmanian devil from the Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah, and with Blythe and her supporters, she kind of eggs it on. She was using Bo's name for a while. She caught some crap for that, and then she kind of pulled back. But now, she's basically encouraging them on some of the. I mean, one of the supporters accused Bo of being a war criminal, and she's sitting there replying in the comment section of thank you for your support. I mean, really kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. So again, that's unfortunate. But that story's already written. Bo will win that. Blythe knows how to do math, but hell, her and her supporters are going to burn it down because they didn't win, and that's where we're headed with that.
And like I said, and it's interesting, old friend, that I'll argue in politics, the number one goal is to win, plain and simple. Because the guy comes in second place, and lets the runoff, you call him loser, plain and simple. So if you have somebody who can raise money, because that's always been the problem with Democrats, is they could never really raise the money in the cash that they needed to. He's managed to raise the money, but now they're going after the people who funded him.
Yeah. And, when you're a Democrat, and, I had an interview with Tom McDermott last summer, and Tom McDermott told me and my audience that your number one goal or purpose as a candidate is to win. Because if you don't win, your great ideas never see the light of day. So as a Democrat, I tell Bo, take the money. That's my message to him. Take the money and win. And then you can start implementing ideas that Democrats want implemented. And if you don't win, then, it doesn't matter how much you raised or how pure of a Democrat or socialist you are. You're sitting there looking at 4 years from now. And, when you look at the 7th district down in Indy, it kind of shocked me when Destiny did decide to run. But it just seems to me that race she'll be lucky to finish third in that. I think George Hornato has had a great run. He's been out talking to people. Andre's going to win that one with ease. He'll go on to serve another term. And, Destiny will be stuck sending out her Substack to the 50 subscribers she has.
Final question for you, my friend. If you look at what's happening on the Democrat side of things and on the Republican side, is the day of the moderate Republican, moderate Democrat back after this election, do you think?
I think it is. I don't think it ever went away. They're just drowned out by the extremes on both sides. I think when we first started talking, I was helping Richard Lugar run for office. And I was viciously attacked online by the Richard Murdoch people and the Tea Party people, and it kind of drove me away from the Republican Party. You see that kind of vitriol right now if you support Bo Bai from Blythe and her people. You're just not pure enough for them, and they want to criticize you for everything, the money you take, where you get it. And I like to tell people that if being a progressive grassroots candidate with no money was the way to go, we'd have a whole legislature full of them right now.
Nice. Oh, by the way, final question for you. Greg Ballard, independent bid. What do you think? When I first heard Greg Ballard, it kind of caught my interest a little bit simply because who's kind of behind his campaign, Nathan Gotch. He ran against me up here 4 years ago when I was the Democrat nominee for Congress, and he was making a big deal of being an independent, and he got 4%. I think when you see the numbers that Greg Ballard got right now, historically, that's probably going to be his ceiling, and he'll probably go nowhere but down from there. All right. Well, our guest of the program today has been our good friend Gary Snyder, host of the Snyder Report, that you can find online and come and be sure to get his podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's sort of the new way to close things out. So, Gary, my friend, sir, thank you very much, and we'll definitely revisit sometime after the primary and see how right or how wrong we were.
Absolutely, and just a heads up, because I'm going to edit this out. Just stay on after we sign off and let everything upload.
Good to talk to you, my friend.
Thanks, Abdul.